Election 2024, it's in full swing as former President Donald Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris are each vying for your vote. From healthcare, the economy, national security, both candidates are hitting the campaign trail hard, focusing heavily on key battleground states, including, of course, right here in North Carolina. While Trump has already officially accepted the Republican national nomination at the Republican National Convention back in July, Harris is expected to make her nomination official this week during the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. The DNC just got underway just a few moments ago. This is a live picture, so you're seeing kind of the photographer who is there on the ground, kind of like getting anywhere and everywhere. This is from the United Center. Tonight's theme is For the People, with President Joe Biden as the keynote speaker. And again, this is a live look outside the DNC.
Organizers of the Democratic National Convention laid out what voters can expect tonight.
Tonight's theme, For the People, will showcase Kamala Harris's commitment to fighting for everyday Americans.
A new CBS News YouGov poll shows Vice President Kamala Harris goes into this convention with a 3-point lead nationally over former President Donald Trump. But she is effectively tied in the battleground states that are likely to decide the race. Her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, laid out this game plan for delegates this morning.
We've got 78 days of hard work. We can sleep when we're dead. Not now. Not now.
Delegates we spoke with say they can feel the momentum.
It's just a dramatic change from 4 weeks ago.
Mike Thaler is a delegate from San Diego.
We've seen this energy shift, if you will, from nominee to nominee. Have you been able to feel that in California?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And really, I think the purpose of the convention itself is to get that momentum usually started, but they didn't need to start it. It was hot and heavy.
Outside the convention center, protests against the war in Gaza are expected all week. Chicago police say there shouldn't be any issues if the protests stay peaceful.
We would prefer not to have clashes. We would prefer not to have to make arrests if we don't have to.
President Biden is the keynote speaker tonight. Harris accepts her party's nomination later in the week. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Chicago.
The Democratic Party released its platform ahead of the convention. It includes support for raising the federal minimum wage to $15 per hour, making the child tax credit permanent, and protections for IVF and abortion services. Now, as the DNC kicks off in Chicago, former President Trump is kicking off a really busy campaign week with stops in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and right here in North Carolina. Earlier today, he spoke to voters in Pennsylvania, where he detailed his plans to help Americans and tackle inflation. He stressed the importance of reestablishing the U.S. as a manufacturing superpower with American-made products.
Our plan will massively cut taxes, unlock American energy, slash regulations, big factor, crack down on trade cheaters and stop outsourcing, rebuild our industrial base and bring back those beautiful words, made in the USA.
Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, also talked economics in Pennsylvania today. Trump and his running mate are expected to make that stop in Asheville on Wednesday. He will be holding an outdoor rally at the North Carolina Aviation Museum and Hall of Fame. It is going to be the first outdoor event since his assassination attempt a little over a month ago. We spoke to museum leaders about how they're preparing for the big event.
Security is pretty much handled by Secret Service. They've surveyed the entire facility here. They've checked everything from all the buildings to all the fences. They'll do at least another very in-depth security sweep. That'll be the day before.
And I misspoke. I said Asheville. It is Asheboro, of course. Staff is busy in Asheboro moving planes to make space for public and special guests. Traffic will be rerouted coming off of 49 on Wednesday. Well, both presidential candidates have made North Carolina a priority for the 2024 election, making several stops over the last few months. Former President Trump has been to the state several times this year. Just last week, this is where it got all convoluted, he was in Asheville. He was in Charlotte at the end of July, and he was supposed to speak in Wilmington in April, but it was canceled due to the weather. Then he was here in Greensboro in March ahead of the primary election. Now, as far as Vice President Harris, she has been in the state 8 times this year. She was in Raleigh last week for her first appearance in North Carolina as the Democratic nominee. Before that, she visited as vice president, campaigning for President Biden. In July, she stopped here in Greensboro and in Fayetteville, and then she made stops in Charlotte in January, April, and June. Harris and President Biden made a joint appearance in Raleigh in March and was in Durham earlier that month. Well, today we learned how the candidates are polling on key issues. The CBS News polls found Harris polls well in the issues of race and diversity, abortion rights, and the state of democracy. The polls show that Trump leads with those who see the economy, inflation, and border policies as the major issues in this election. Vice President Harris has the national lead in the election by 3% as of today's polling numbers. The candidates are split 50-50 in the battleground states overall. Well, students from High Point University, they're getting front row seats to this year's historic election. A group of 6 are working as showrunners for CNN at the Democratic National Convention. Now, this is the second time they're getting this type of experience because they joined the RNC last month. Both the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Convention are anything but conventional this year.
This is a historic convention cycle. The RNC is came off the heels of an attempted assassination of an ex-president. And then we have a situation where the standard bearer for the Democratic Party has stepped aside and his vice president stepped into the breach to be the new candidate. So we are in uncharted territory.
The students get to help escort reporters and politicians to and from the set. Well, the vice presidential nominees are scheduled to debate on October the 1st. Governor Tim Walz and Senator J.D. Vance both agreed to the CBS hosted debate on their social media pages last week. We are now 77 days away from the November election. You can stay up to date on all the latest polls by downloading our WFMY News 2 app.